Dark Lullaby by Polly Ho Yen is a sci-fi novel that I found from one of those websites that sort of just does a roundup of all the new sci-fi books coming out each month. So I just want to check it out on a whim. This was a really great book though. The front cover describes it as A Handmaid's Tale for the Modern World by Sarah Langan, author of Good Neighbors. But Dark Lullaby takes place in the near future, where infertility has sort of gripped the entire world. And our main character is Kit. She is a woman who has a husband and a daughter, however, and a mother-in-law. However, every couple who has a child has a fear of extraction. OSIP is like this sort of big brother-like organization that allows couples to sort of fight the infertility by going through the process called induction, where you have to take certain drugs, and it's a very painful process. And if you're lucky enough to survive it, you can get pregnant and have a child. However, OSIP sort of watches over your shoulder at every moment, and if you have too many infractions, they'll take your child away, the process being extraction. So the book is divided into two timelines, then and now. In the current day, they are celebrating their daughter's birthday. However, OSIP shows up and takes away their baby. And then when we jump back to the then, it's Kit before she met her husband Thomas. She's got a sister named Evie who has a husband and they have a child. She's also friends with another couple. And the then storyline basically is the world building one. They're all flashbacks leading up to telling you how the world works and how she met her husband, how she got pregnant, how her sister got pregnant, how the world is. And then the now storyline is sort of like the main storyline, but I felt myself more interested in the then storyline because the now one was very short. There isn't a lot of flaws in this book. If I had a couple nitpicks, I have to say that because they do the then and now storylines and flip through them, sometimes they do that and the story doesn't need to jump back to the other timeline, but it does anyway because the author's sort of stuck to it being that way. So sometimes it'll just be a page, but it feels like inconsequential because they just had to flip through different, timelines. You don't have to do that. You can just not. Also, some of the chapters are pretty short, so you don't get too tired of any one timeline, but then you also don't get absorbed in the story as much. But the reason why I really enjoyed this book was that it has a complete and control of mastery of the emotions involved. Being a male, I'm never going to have a daughter. I'll never give birth to one. I may never become a father, but the author does such a great job of sort of immersing you in the mindset of a mother and the stress of having the child maybe taken away, or the sort of burden of having a child at all. Because in this dystopian future, the children are a commodity, and everyone, they sort of, the world building builds up that like you get treated better if you try to go for their induction, and if you don't, you're considered an out and you're sort of shafted to the slums. However, you're given better housing and money if you go for a child. So there's also great world building there. There's not too much in the science department, but it's more of an emotional family tale that I really dug. And they're really great characters, very memorable. And that ending, just pitch perfect tone. It just really hit me hard how I was able to balance the emotional storyline and putting you in the shoes of those characters while also giving you a sort of, dystopian tale, but also keeping lots of developed characters and pushing the narrative forward. So I give Dark Lullaby a 5 out of 5. I thought about this rating for a while, but it's just a really great, I couldn't put it down. Those small nitpicks aren't enough to lower my rating because it just blew me away. So it's a really interesting sci-fi parable, kind of like a mix of Children of Men meets The Handmaid's Tale, a little bit 1984 sprinkled in, but it has some nice sci-fi touches without getting overly into it. But it remains mostly a character-driven story, which I really dug. So, Dark Lullaby by Polly Ho Yen, 5 out of 5.